that $1.50.
rather than the pay. Do
Yeah.
you think maybe it
What
was about
I'm
the
talking about though is Harlem and not up our money.
Yeah, I know
Do
it.
you think maybe it came at a time when there was less demand for the fire brick, and so
It was less demand for it then,
they weren't making as
and
much?
they was wanting to close down probably, no doubt, anyway. This
Anyway.
happens a lot. This
But
happens.
they were probably thinking it was marginal what they, like the
And
future
so they-
in it.
Yeah, a lot of times, and I'm telling you, it's the truth. A lot of times they would shut down, blame it on the union. We can't afford to do it. They wanted to shut down anyway.
Now
A
they
lot of places, I
still,
don't know where Harlem
the
is.
company still got a brickyard over at Bronze,
Yeah.
running.
Yeah, they do.
Today,
Yeah,
Yes.
not too far from there, just the other side of Grace.
it's still running.
Yeah.
Still
And
making brick.
they had one in Olive Hill when this one shut down, but then the
Yeah,
other
they
one
shut
closed
down then,
too.
yeah, right. But Gron's still going.
Is it still General Refractories, or is it different company?
I think it's,
I don't know
think
where
now
it's-
it's still,
I don't know
It's
where it
been
is or
quite a
not.
while
It's
since I've been
It's been a long
through
time
there.
since I've been through there too.
I went over and bought a dog a few years ago off a guy.
But what I'm saying, I'll just say this, and don't want to make any hurt feelings or nothing like that. But if people that's never been in union, they don't realize what goes on, what the union's really done for this country. I'm telling you. And we had to fight to keep our jobs from going overseas, and they still went outsourcing. We'd say hire more people, instead of outsourcing, sending this to Mexico somewhere, hire more people here rather than send our job away, because after a while, our job's going to be done away with, and and that. See, there's a lot behind the background that goes on that the company gets blamed for, and the union gets blamed for, and it's the company that does it. Like right now, you think of all the cars that have been made abroad, and you take Kia and that made in South Korea, that car is, well, this thought went through my mind. I told my wife yesterday, this thought went through my mind, honey. When them first come out, they had to put new motors in them. You couldn't even get 50,000 miles out of the motor to blow up. And rather than for the public out here to realize what's going on with this company, why why are we buying these kind of automobiles and the motor blowing up 50,000 miles? So they put new motors in, and then they started making them, I guess, they're a little better now. And without, if you'd had the union behind it, the union would have seen, hey, you're not putting out a motor like this. You're not putting out a car like this. This is where I'm saying that the union has done so much for this country,
And then
to make things to where a car will last for years, to run 200,000 or 300,000 miles. We made it. I know, because I worked in a shop, and honey, heat treat, and the foremans. Let me tell you, the foremans would try to. We'd have a delay. Like me, for instance, my furnace, I'd have a delay on it, and where that you'd have a wreck on it. Them parts wasn't no good. They wasn't heat treated right. Okay? And the foreman would say, hey, I'm going to pass him. Well, I'm a union official. I worked on the job. I'm right there, and say, no, you're not. You're turning them down. Me and him go around and around, and finally I'd argue them down. You set them aside, them ain't going to be passed because they're no good. I said, you might buy the transmission with them bad parts, or I might. And I said, I don't want somebody out there buying a bad transmission and it tear up on them. This is some of the things I'm just saying that you have that you work with.
And then you stayed with the union. You worked in Muncie until you retired.
Yeah, I retired early. I'm 55 years old.
And
I had
then-
34 years, so I come out.
And then you moved back to Haldeman?
Yeah, moved back this early. And now our plant, they outsourced it so much, honey, that we don't have there ain't no board one in Muncie no more.
It's not there.
And we switched over. They shipped our. So we made for Ford for years, and we made forever. We made forever automobile manufacturer. We made even for Rolls Royce transmission done, world class. Just the truth. And we made for Japan. We made a 6-speed that they couldn't even make it to hold together. General Motors made a 4-speed that they could never get perfected, but we got it perfected. So we went in. So they outsourced all of our jobs, gave them away, sold them, to Mexico and different places. And the 4-speed went to Tennessee, and then it went on to Mexico. The big 4-speed transmission, and everybody, all these older guys knows what we're talking about, even some of the younger guys, when you talk about the rock crusher. The process. Oh God, I could take off all day. The process on heat treatment, you know what I'm saying? And
so what made you come back to?
And so anyway,
to
I
Hollywood?
always want to come back home. My wife wanted to come back worse than I did. Well, I said, honey, she loved Kentucky. I did too. And so I said, well, when our kids graduate from high school, we'll go back home. Well, I had so much time in at the shop and not old enough to retire. I'd have to come down here and look for more work. And there ain't no place that I've got a job to make any kind of money like I was making. And there wasn't no heat treating job here in Moorhead. And I had to went to Lexington or somewhere like that. And so I says, I'm sorry, honey, I've got to retire now. Okay, all right. And so then when I got my 30 in, I thought, well, I said, I'll go. But when I got my 30 years in, our pension wasn't that great. Pension wasn't that great. And so, did you know, never thought I'd ever had to do it? We had to go on strike. They brought scabs in, his dad and them were gone. They brought them in from Wisconsin, Michigan, into our plant to take our jobs over and cut off negotiations with us.
And so that's
After
how you left?
all these years. Now, okay, so we went on strike. And then they opened the plant up, and they got the National Guard and the city police and the sheriff department all to come out there and escort these guys in and out. And the National Guard come, watched over and make sure we didn't do nothing to them, to protect them, and took our jobs. And we kept trying to get them to open up for negotiations, and finally did, and negotiated a new contract. Then I sat on the picket line, never thought I'd have to, after all them years, And so anyway, we got our settlement then, and got more money on our pension then.
And then you retired.
Yeah, and so then I was able, figured, well, I'm getting the pension a little better than it was, and able to retire like that.
These are wonderful stories. Is there anything that you any special memory about Haldeman, or anything you'd like the world to know about Haldeman? As a kind of
well, it was
here?
it was like it was a community that everybody just, oh gosh, you knowed everybody, and I knew where Mr. So and so lived, and because that his whole family lived there, and so on, and it was just a time there that, oh gosh, it was exciting time. Them times were, and I hated to leave here. All us young people wound up in Ohio or Indiana or Michigan. A lot of them wound up in Mansfield, Ohio. A lot of them wound up in Detroit or somewhere Detroit area, somewhere in the car industry, back there. The only jobs here was sawmills. Okay, the brickyards was down. Okay, so there wasn't no job there. So the sawmills, the old men had them jobs. They wasn't no quit. They had a family. So there just wasn't no job for young people. They really wasn't. We had to leave here. We really did had to leave here to find work. And it was just a slow progress. What I mean, they still had the stores where they got their credit and they'd pay when they got their tobacco check and things. And I didn't want it. I wanted something better than that because, you know, I got married and started raising a family, and I wanted my kids to have a good education and so on. And they both found with college degrees. I lost my daughter 2 years ago. She was a nurse, and she was also a counselor and so on, you know, and had these college degrees and everything. And how proud that I was that I accomplished that. You know, for my children. My son, he went in the Navy, and he's got a master's degree. He could teach at college level. And he belongs, he's on this board right here. He's our financial secretary. I'm proud of it that he, after he retired out of the Navy after 23 years and 8 months, 24 years I call it, and come back here, and so I'm already back here retired, but I never could get my daughter to come back. But I like this area, and it's a wonderful area.
And what do you
And
think
it's a wonderful time to live in, and you know, like you said, things that I can remember, and I thought it would be a lot different. When I come back, I was looking forward to sit on the front porch, and everybody comes and visit, and we go visit other people. We sit on the porch and make a little music, you know, down home music, and it wasn't like that when I got a surprise. Then, you know, when I retired back in '89, December of '89, then we had friends down here that we'd already been, you know, playing. We'd come down and go to church with them. And they didn't have time to visit us. We didn't have time to visit them. That's a different era now. So it took, when I wanted to come back, I thought about the good old days. And it's still good old days, but I'm talking about, though, is a different style of living then, right, nowadays. TV kept you in the house. You didn't get on the front porch and the back porch and sing and play music and talk to your neighbors and reminisce about who's got the biggest cucumbers or watermelons in their garden.
Well, how do you think that the center might help change some of that, bring people together again?
Well, this is what we thought about the history that's right here at Holloman. And we thought about having the center here. It'd be a place where, you know, that people could come, and for the community, you know, like, well, right now we're trying to rent it out to make ends meet and keep the lights on, keep the heat on, and things like this. And it would be because the Carl Perkins Center is way out here the other end of Moorhead. And for this community right here that we're trying to get involved, that we're having a wedding coming up this Saturday, you know, and so it'd be for anything and anybody wants. We got the gym here, you know, and we're working on getting to school. And so the community right here needs this, but to get them to understand that they need it, to where they can come in and help us, is we're having a problem with that. Because we're older. I'm 78 years old, he's 83, Lloyd's about 81 or 2, and so on. We're all older, and we tell them, we're not going to benefit from this, but you younger people is going to benefit from this. And it, you know, it broke. Well, I wanted to cry when they tore the post office down. That was the only thing that was left. And honey, I drove up here and just didn't know they was tearing it down. I was going over to Soldier. And I drive up here, and they had the roadblock there, and they had a big, one of them big track holes in, and they just had it clear on the ground.
When was this?
This was,
It's been too many years ago.
well, what, 6, 7 years ago?
Probably long about that.
And I turned around right quick, went down and told Lord. They didn't let nobody know they was even going to tear it down or anything, honey. And we, you know, we as the community here, nobody had thought to put it on the historical record till they couldn't. We slipped up on that. never dreamed about them turning it down. And, you know, but what we're trying to do here, like I said, is you asked me to revitalize Allman, at least have a community center here where the people can come, have the functions, whether it be a wedding or whether it be car shows, you know, we're having and things like that. And you know, try to get, we'd love to see someone come in for business here. Because you know, there's no gas station, there's no gas station and no grocery store in this area through here, from down here 60, even on down 60, up 60, whatever, to all of here, you know. And so it'd be wonderful.
And the school, the kids are all bused into Moorhead. And
Right.
No gas station, no grocery.
Right, and you know, and this is a big community right here. This is a big community. Another thing, I don't know, Lloyd probably told you, and some of the others that has been in here in the interview. You knew we had a great water system here of hydrants and all back in the 20s even. Some of those fire hydrants are still around. Yeah. That's how modern it was.
And all of that once the shipyards, or
When the
brickyards
went down, then it went down.
Then
Yeah,
all
it
that
went down.
infrastructure, none of that
Yeah.
was preserved.
And you know, sis, this might not be very important, but to me it's abominable how that they have got a creek up here, we call it, Bill and Seaman, that was built in the 30s, that's still there. Just drive around the corner right here. When you leave here, you can see it right there.
And that was part of the water system? And it was part of
That
the
runoff.
streets?
Yeah, it's a creek, runoff. They cemented it, and it's still there. It was cemented in the 30s because I can take you right down here to the old voting house. The same system of the drain down here, 1934, the year I was born, that cement was poured, and it just looks like this tabletop today. Still good.
Do you have any memories of when they were building this school? It was the WPA.
The building.
The building. You don't
Yeah,
remember
but I don't.
Don't remember the men coming in and building it? Well, I think.
And how they cut all this rock out, wasn't that something?
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if anybody has any.
And how they handled it without the, you know, the machinery we got now. Yeah.
And those WPA buildings last, I tell you.
Oh, yes.
All around the country.
Yeah,
And they also built boating houses too.
yeah.
You always talking about, but getting back to the union. Have you got a centennial paper? Lord, I'll bring mine up here and let you take it with you.
I would appreciate that, and I'll bring it back. I'll take it and scan
It's
it.
about that thick, and it's about this size.
Wow.
You leave it on. It's got about when they's organizing a reunion, that master
Union.
that got killed,
Union.
he's got one whole page of it on it.
Oh, great. Yeah, that would be very helpful, and then we can take and we can scan it or photograph it so that we can put that up on the web.
And then on another page, it's got where it's telling about Haldeman Business Society, settlement of Brown County.
Oh, that would be very helpful. Well, you know, I will be around because Monday we start working with the kids again.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
here every evening.
Yeah, right. Too, I wish that we could have got some history like this a few years back. Woodrow Evans was the last man to die here 2 years ago. It worked its way. He's the last one. Jack Evans.
Junior Cliff lives in Indiana. Used to work here, same age I am.
He did? Well, he's still living?
Yeah. I thought
Somebody I know
during
is
years-
Well, I thought Woodrow, everybody told me Woodrow was the last one. And Junior worked at the workout.
Yeah. Actually, he married Betty Lewis, lived up on top of the
But
hill.
you remember Woodrow?
Yeah, he was
Yes.
here to reunion.
Yeah, he was here to reunion two or 3 years ago. 3 years ago, because he'd been dead 2 years now, I think.
Well, maybe we can find somewhere to interview him.
Well, one more
Still-
thing I wanted to ask you before we go.
After a Taylor.
Well, no, I wanted to ask her about when you interviewed Austin Smith.